Elanga is a red. Here we go. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you're having a good day and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest transfer news. But before we get into the transfer news, I'd like to take a moment and pass our condolences on to Trevor Francis's family. The Forest legend, the first ever £1 million man, has unfortunately passed away. And our thoughts and prayers, of course, are with his family. And I'm sure the rest of you guys will join us in those sentiments. Okay, with that said, let's get into the news. Coming up on today's episode, we have the latest on Elanga as he is confirmed as a Nottingham Forest player. We got a link to a Juventus player. We got the latest on the Greek defender who has excited a few of you guys and a few other bits and bobs, including the whole ticket price fiasco to cover off. So if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And let's start with the latest signing, which is Anthong Elanga. As we told you last week, Elanga was set for his medical to be scheduled in this week, and this has now been done, and he has passed with flying colours and will be unveiled very shortly by Nottingham Forest as signing number 2 or 3, depending if you count Chris Wood or not. Elanga will join Forest from Manchester United for a fee of around £15 million. I actually expect that fee to be announced at some point down the road to be something like 10 to 12 plus add-ons. I don't see it being a flat 15. The choices were, though, between him, Hudson, Odoi and Danjuma. Forest were interested in all three, and it seems that Elanga was the one they ended up going with. Would you personally, though, out of those three, well, should I ask you this question? Who would you have chosen out of those three? Who would have been your front runner for that left wing position potentially, even though he can play and does play on the right hand side? Would it have been Elanga, or would you have gone with one of the other two? For me personally, probably Danjuma would be the one that excited me more. He's now gone to Everton on loan with a loan fee and hasn't cost them too much money. But I do think that Elanga has a higher ceiling. It's just whether or not Steve Cooper can get it out of him. And let's see if he can become the player that all the Manchester United fans thought he was going to be a couple of years ago. Maybe with a good first team run, maybe with the likes of Cooper, Reedy, etc. behind him and training him and helping him, he will find himself, developing a lot quicker. So hopefully he can become that player that everyone thought he was going to be a couple of years ago. But this is deal done and this is deal confirmed. We did a video on this on the weekend, I think it was, explaining how he would fit into Cooper's plans. And I'll tell you what, it's a bit of a head scratcher depending on what formation you think Cooper will be going with. If you haven't seen that already, go check it out after this video. But we can confirm that Elanga is a red. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, let's move on to topic number 2, which is the ticket prices. And an example of one is where it's gone up from like 42 quid up to 52 quid. And that's a decent hike, about 10 or so quid in the pockets for us as fans. Now, is it to be expected? Yes, it is. We've seen the shirt prices go up. We've seen season ticket prices go up. So in line, the ticket prices going up kind of makes sense. The memberships have gone up. Everything is going up. The argument back from the fans that are disgruntled are, well, we are in a cost of living crisis in the UK, and how can you do this to us? Especially us who go through thick and thin, home, away, left, right, and centre. How is this fair? Now, I'm going to give both sides to the argument on this. From the fans' perspective, I fully understand it. Whoever wants a price hike, it just isn't nice to see. But Forest have frozen prices for a sustained period of time, and Forest are spending a lot more money than we were in the Championship, and we have a new stand that needs to be developed. If that's ever going to get done, well, I guess we'll have to watch this space. But on top of that, Forest are not innocent in this, with stupid deals like Shelvey and Chris Wood. 19 million for a 1.5 year deal is absolute stupidity. And this price increase doesn't even touch the sides of the money they've thrown away on that. So they're not innocent in these things whatsoever. But it is supply and demand. And clearly Forest have looked at these numbers and understand that at 52 quid, they will still sell out the City Ground this season. They still will have the fans coming back. Even the fans who can't afford it will find a way to afford it. I am sure of that. That's the type of fan base that we do have. However, I would advise, if it's going to cause you financial stress, financial constraints, then seriously think about it before you do it. Because there is going to be other fans who are more affluent than the likes of me and you, who can afford this, who would see it as a day out. Maybe they haven't been to the City Ground in donkey's years, or maybe we have new fans who have become Forest fans because they started supporting them, say, because they're Brazilian and seeing the likes of Danilo, Felipe and Scarpa, etc. joining Forest. And now they've had a taste of it and they want to get the City Ground atmosphere. So in a way, not only is it important for Forest to look after the loyal fan base, but it is also important that Nottingham Forest expands as a brand. Forest is bigger than a lot of people give us credit for. We have fans all the way from Australia, Chock-a-Block, for example, a regular here, all the way to America. Got Bobby Vegas, just to name one or two. We got loads in South America now. We've even got them in the subcontinent. And Nottingham Forest as a brand needs to expose this exposure and make sure that they are involving every single fan. And you can see that they've done that with the tickets that they did, with the membership, that they did the other week, where they're doing digital stuff and things like that and expanding the portfolio, making it more inclusive. However, they did hike those prices as well. The shirt price is up to 75 quid. We as a fan base are being hit with a lot of increases, and we are all definitely struggling on where we were, say, 2 years ago in terms of cost of living. So the balancing act needs to happen. But at the same time, we can't sit here and demand new players come in and then not expect to see it affect the pound signs, because that is part of it. Football is a business and football has costs. And as you go into the Premier League, the costs increase as well as the spotlight. So it really is a balancing act as far as I'm concerned. I think they've probably gone too far on this one, but I think they've definitely done their due diligence and will still be very, very, comfortable with the fact that they will sell out the City Ground week in and week out. So how do you guys feel about it? Let me know in the comments down below. It's a touchy subject, but it's one, as always, we're prepared to address here, and I'm really interested to see what you guys think of it. Will there be any of you who can no longer afford to go to the City Ground who were before because of this price hike? And will there be some of you who are now looking at it thinking, I'm prepared to pay whatever, I haven't been to the City Ground in 20 odd years or whatever it might be. And if it costs me 50 quid or it costs me 100 quid, I'm happy to pay that as a one-off football experience maybe. So get your thoughts in down below. All right, the next bit of news we got for you is a link to Cambiaso. No, not the old school Cambiaso, the ex-Leicester and where was he, Inter player. It's the left back from Juventus who has been out on loan for a season, is now linked to Nottingham Forest. So this in itself is interesting. Look, there's no details about how much he's worth, how much Forest are willing to spend, etc. But it is a link. But the link in the position itself is interesting, as with Arnaut being signed for Nottingham Forest, who is predominantly a right back but can play at left back. If Forest is still in the hunt for a left-sided defender, then obviously that's not where Arnaut is lined up to play. So that link has come through. There's still also the links kicking around with the Greek defender, who I do really like, but apparently he doesn't want to come back to the Premier League right now. Whether or not he doesn't want to come back to Nottingham Forest or the Premier League is not entirely clear, but he has had interest from other clubs in Serie A and a couple of other places in Europe. So the point on this is that Nottingham Forest is still keen on a left back. And I think that's the right thing, because I don't think Arnaut is good enough to be first choice. Omar Richards, although I think is really good, could potentially be a risk with his injury record. So Forest probably still do need to purchase a left back. It does make you wonder, why was Arnaut such a priority for Nottingham Forest there? My conclusion on that is quite simple. Well, he was a free, the opportunity came about, and that's probably why that happened early doors. So those are the links with Nottingham Forest. And something else to add on, just as I forgot to mention earlier on Elanga, it is a 5-year deal that they have done. And this in itself makes great sense because under financial fair play, it would mean that only about 3 million needs to be written on the books for that deal. So it doesn't make a huge impact on the overall number, which is, again, good to see some good business happening at Nottingham Forest. That brings you up to date with your latest Nottingham Forest news. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And we will see you on the next video. And come on, you Reds.